Hi, fourth grade. I hope you guys had a really good week. We're going to continue on with our book, What's His Face? Chapter 2, Smartphone, Stupid Person. Veronica Vega has a new boyfriend already. Chad Bumgardner, Brock's 16-year-old brother. 3 weeks in this town, and it's like Veronica was born here. She has a happening social life, a boyfriend, she's on the volleyball team, the pep squad, and the yearbook staff. The whole high school might as well just shut down if she moves away. Which she probably will, and sooner rather than later, the way their dad keeps getting transferred. It's always that way. Veronica's a perfect fit wherever she goes, while her brother remains What's-His-Face. She also has a phone that works. It's identical to Cooper's, another GX4000, with a serial number only one away from his, proving that they came off the same assembly line, side by side. That's where the similarities end. It shoots the most awesome video, she raves at the dinner table, even in low light. You should see the amazing footage I took of the bonfire at the lake last night. It's so sharp. I don't think mine's that good, Cooper said. It makes a lot of weird noises, beeps and clicks and honks. You're just not used to it yet, Captain Vega reassures him. Remember, it's top-of-the-line technology, real cutting edge. Those must be notifications. Once you're familiar with all the capabilities, the different sounds will make sense to you. They aren't normal phone sounds. Remember that house we lived in where the wind would whistle through our chimney? I can't remember what town it was. Anyways, that's what it makes. I think it was Dover, Miss Vega said, but I'm sure you're imagining things, Coop. No phone sounds like wind in a chimney. This one does, Cooper insists, and there's something wrong with the camera. All the pictures are blurry. It must be you, his sister informs him. My pictures are amazing. You're just messing up the focus. That doesn't explain the silver stuff. Where does that come from? She shrugs. What do you expect when you give a smartphone to a stupid person? Veronica, their mother puts in disapprovingly, your brother's younger than you. He has to learn the operating system at his own pace. Look, Cooper exclaims. He places the phone in the center of the table and scrolls through his pictures. The view from his bedroom window, the family SUV, Melrose, the next-door neighbor's black lab, lounging in the grass, each one marred by the same silvery blur. What's that, huh? Sun glare, Captain Vega concludes. Our engineers have the same problem in the military. Our targeting systems have to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what isn't. The phone emits a mournful whistle as the image of Melrose dissolves into static. Miss Vega frowns. That actually does remind me of our old chimney. Yes, Delaware, definitely. Has to be some kind of alert, Veronica decides. Check your settings to see if there's a software update available. The last time I did that, it shocked me, Cooper complains. That night, while Captain Vega spends 3 hours on the phone with tech support, Cooper sneaks into his sister's room and examines her GX4000. She's right. The thing works like a charm. It doesn't beep or chime or honk unless there's a message coming in. The picture boasts vivid colors and sharp details. Most of these are of Chad Bumgardner, who looks like an older, more muscled clone of Brock. The same fair skin, thick neck, and concrete flat-top haircut. Finally, Captain Vega finishes with tech support. We did a full diagnostic, he tells Cooper, handing the device back. Everything checks out. Later, Cooper lay in his bed, tossing and turning, while the GX4000 sits on the nightstand, chirping and whistling. It sounds like R2D2 in an echo chamber or on the edge of the Grand Canyon. There was an angry pounding on the wall. Veronica's voice comes from the next room. Quit playing with your phone. Some of us are trying to sleep. I'm not playing with it, Cooper calls back. I'm not even touching it. It's doing all that on its own. Put it on silent, she growls through the wall. Better still, shut it down. Fine. Cooper holds the power button. The home screen hangs on a little longer than it should. That's new. He watches as the apps dissolve into snow in a clockwise swirl that reminds him of a flushing toilet. The multicolored particles begin to collect in the vortex where the drain would be. But instead of being swallowed up, the points of light gather in the center of the screen, forming a shape that ripples. It continues to grow, a spreading amoeba. No, wait, that's no amoeba. That's a head. 2 arms, 2 legs. A person? Then the monitor goes black. The GX4000 is finally off. It vibrates intermittently all night before powering up again all on its own a little before dawn. That morning, Cooper practically sleepwalks to school. Just about the only thing keeping him awake is the phone in his back pocket buzzing and chiming. He barely slept thanks to the GX4000. Even when the thing was still, he was wound up tight as a drum, waiting for the next explosion to send. It was like that water torture that drives you insane waiting for the next drop. Hey, Cooper! He's struggling along, his eyes half closed, so when he spots Jolie, he thinks he's hallucinating. She's bobbing up and down like she's on a trampoline. In amazement, he realizes she's riding a pogo stick, hopping along the sidewalk in the direction of Stratford Middle School. She comes alongside him, bouncing in place. Great way to travel, huh? Good exercise, too. She isn't even breathing hard. I guess you're really into physical fitness, he offers. The effort of maintaining eye contact is making him seasick. My 2 careers, remember? Actress and astronaut. You have to be in shape for both of them. You're trying out for the play, right? Play? Why is he always so clueless around her? Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. The 7th grade does a Shakespeare play every year, part of the whole Stratford thing. Personally, I'd rather do a musical like Annie or Phantom of the Opera, but the Wolf pays for the sets and costumes, so it's Shakespeare 24/7. Anyway, it has to be better than what last year's 7th graders got. People around here still call it Macbeth. Yeah, that must have been a downer, Cooper agrees. She hops off the pogo stick and hands it to him. Want to try? Cooper knows he shouldn't. He's too tired and, let's face it, not the most coordinated kid in the world besides. But there's something about Jolene that makes him want to please her, to share her interests. And as unstable as the pogo stick looks, it has to be safer than her other hobby, like scuba diving with sharks. If she invites him to join her at that, he's definitely going to have to say no. Gingerly, she accepts the stick. He accepts the stick and climbs on the footbar, moving very tentatively, testing his balance. It's easy, right? She prompts. Right, easy. It's not easy at all. The bouncing part isn't so bad. It's the not falling that's just about impossible. Every hop has him kneeling over in one direction or the other, hanging on in white-knuckled terror. Hey, booms a deep voice. Check out WhatsHisFace. Cooper twirls around in time to see Brock and a couple of his soccer friends pointing and laughing. The spring end comes down in a crack in the sidewalk, and the pogo stick launches like a missile. With a cry of shock, Cooper is tossed into a hedge. The last thing he sees before hitting the scratchy branches is his phone flying out of his pocket. The screen of the GX4000 lights up in midair, and when it strikes the pavement, the click of the camera sounds. Cooper struggles out of the bushes to behold an amazing sight. Rising from his phone is a silver cloud. He's thunderstruck. The camera isn't broken at all. The reason his pictures are marred by the silvery shimmer is that the silvery shimmer is real. "Did you see that?" he blurts. "See what?" Brock exclaims. "I wish I had it on video. Greatest wipeout ever." 9.5, Aiden said. "You only lost marks because you didn't split your head open." "No, I mean," he points to the glittering shape over the phone and realizes that it's no longer there. Jolie is rescuing her pogo stick from the tangle of the hedge, and Brock and his friends are high-fiving in honor of Cooper's performance. No one else noticed the fleeting image. Jolie holds onto the pogo stick. "Want to get right back on the horse?" "That's okay," Cooper told her. "I should probably run home and wash out some of these cuts before school. Maybe get some Band-Aids." "Good idea." Brock approves. "No sense bleeding all over everyone. You can walk with us, Jolie, or bounce, or whatever you do on that thing. If you guys think you can keep up." Jolie gets back on the pogo stick and springs off in the direction of school. By the time she gets up to speed, Brock and company have to run to keep pace with her. Cooper barely notices their departure, or the pain of the many scratches all over his body. The memory of the shimmering form over the fallen GX4000 stays with him. No way this is just buggy technology. This is something he can see. What is it? A cloud, sure, but a cloud of what? He allows the image to reform in his mind's eye. The problem with clouds is that if you stare at them long enough, all sorts of things appear. It comes from your imagination more than anything that's actually there. Yet the more he visualizes the glistening shape, the more he realizes he's seen it before. It was on the GX4000 screen when he tried to shut it off last night, formed by the swirling particles right before the monitor finally went dark. A head, arms, a leg, a body, a person. Chapter 3, Shakespeare Town. Auditions for Romeo and Juliet were held at lunch that day. It isn't exactly mandatory to try out, but all 7th graders are assigned an eating time and an auditioning time. The message being that the two activities are equal in importance. If there was a breathing time, Cooper decides, it would probably come in third. Mr. Marchese, his homeroom teacher, is the play's director. He seems horrified at this suggestion that maybe Cooper wants to give this year's production a pass. "Of course you want to be part of it," the teacher says. "Why wouldn't you?" "Well, I'm kind of still a new guy," Cooper explains. "Nobody really knows me." "All the more reason why you should participate." When the teacher said participate, it's with a thrill in his voice, as if he's tasting something really delicious and trying to make the experience last. This is the Shakespeare Town. What better way to fit in and make friends than to put yourself where you'll be working shoulder to shoulder with every other kid your age in Stratford? Ask the 8th graders. They had a blast last year. "You mean with Macbeth?" Teacher smiles. "Okay, Macbeth might have been a little heavy for middle school, but the year before that, A Midsummer Night's Dream was great. kids in fairy wings all over the stage. And then Keith had an asthma attack inside the donkey head, but he fought through it and saved the performance. He's considered a hero to this day. None of the cast will ever forget it. If you don't want to be an actor, at least join the crew. Paint scenery, work the lights, something. In the cafeteria, there was no mistaking the buzz of anticipation. Every few minutes, another group of 7th graders bust their trays and head off to the gym, where the auditions were taking place. The 8th graders are reminiscing about the good old days when it's their turn, and the 6th graders are talking about next year. At 12:40, Cooper presents himself to the gym with a crew of classmates, including Jolie, Aiden, and Brock. I didn't practice, he said nervously as they waited on the bench. Brock snorted a laugh. There's nothing to practice, kid. They just give you some lines and you read them. That's it. His name is Cooper, not Kid, Jolie tells Brock. And for your information, I've been studying the play since last summer. I know all of Juliet's lines by heart. That's the part I'm hoping for. You're wasting your time, Aiden informed her. You're going to be Juliet whether you're prepared for it or not. Who else are they going to give it to? Your name's practically Juliet already, Brock added. Switch up a couple letters and you're done. Jolie glows, and Cooper wishes he had the brains to say that. He has to admit she looked like the ultimate Juliet, even in a Ski Everest t-shirt, which they probably didn't have in Shakespeare's time. Lamar Dingle is currently in the hot seat, reading from a card. He's doing a pretty good job from what Cooper can tell. Not that much of the flowery language makes any sense to him. Oh, what light through yonder window breaks! It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. I thought Juliet was a girl, Aiden commented. She's faking it, is Brock's exclamation. You know, pretending to be some guy's son so she won't get blamed for the broken window. Cooper's pretty sure that's wrong, but he doesn't have a story to replace it, so he keeps his mouth shut. Romeo is so in love with Juliet that he compares her to the rising sun, Jolie whispers. Geez, guys, how dense can you get? Cooper snickers, but he's becoming aware of a new problem. His phone is beginning to vibrate in his pocket. That wouldn't be too surprising if it was set on vibrate, but it's 100% off. At least it was when Cooper entered the building this morning. How can he take it out and see what's up with it without waving it in front of the 7th grade teachers? A few more kids read from different parts in the play. And in order to get a little more oomph into the auditions, the teacher tries to convince everyone that Shakespeare's rhyming couplets are no different than rap songs. Maybe so, Cooper notes, but there aren't a lot of rap songs with forsooth and methinks in them. Excuse me. Performance doesn't change much. A lot of kids are terrible. Amazingly, Brock turns out to be pretty good. Not because he knows anything about acting or Shakespeare, but thanks to his loud voice and cocky confidence. Brock believes everything he says because it's coming out of his royal mouth. Aiden, on the other hand, can barely mumble loud enough to be heard. Next, it's Jolie's turn. The teacher holds out a card with some lines on it. Jolie glanced at it briefly and waves it away. Then she turns towards the nervously milling 7th graders and speaks in a voice rich with feeling and clear as a bell. "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? Deny thy father, and refuse thy name, or if you wilt not, be but sworn my love." Shakespeare's such a rip-off, Aiden says. They always talk about swearing, but you never get so much as a single cuss word. Cooper ignores him. So wrapped up is he in Jolie's performance. It's not the words. which are so alien that they might as well be a foreign language. It's the intensity of her voice, the passion for her acting. She becomes Juliet, and Cooper can feel her love for Romeo, even though the lines she read were 100 years old. And part of the play he barely understands. He's electrified, and for sure his phone is. The device is going crazy in his pocket. Maybe it's just Cooper, but he can't shake the feeling that she's making this speech to him, and him only. Check out WhatsHisFace, Brock comments. Me think he's in love or something. Hey, Cooper wants to present a stronger defense, but there really is something wrong with his GX4000. No way is this normal vibration. It feels like a jackhammer against his hip. Jolie's performing even though she has to be well past the section on the card. The teacher doesn't stop her. He's watching with delighted admiration. The entire gym is watching. All at once, an ear-splitting blurp explodes out of Cooper's pocket. It sounds like a speeding fire truck warning traffic and pedestrians out of the way. Everyone jumps, including Jolie, who ends her audition to scattered applause. The teacher is furious. Who did that? Was that a phone? Cooper jams his hand in his pocket to turn off the GX4000. It's supposed to be off already. As soon as he finds the power button, he receives an electric shock that travels from his finger all the way down to his toes. Brock is snickering. Methinks it's what's-his-face, he hissed to Aiden. Forsooth, me agrees, says Aiden with a grin. The teacher sighs. Thanks, Jolie, that was fantastic. Let's move on. Our last audition this period is, he looks at his clipboard, Cooper Vega. Cooper is so used to being called what's-his-face that he almost doesn't answer to his own name. Jolie whispers an encouraging, "You're going to be great," as they pass on the apron of the stage. Cooper scans the lines on the card the director gave him. Something about being Fortune's fool. The instant he whispers the words to himself, the phone in his hip starts up again. This time, the buzzing works in a circular pattern that tickles, and he blunders his way through the audition, wriggling and giggling like a complete idiot. Thank you, Cooper. That was very good. Director doesn't seem angry. His emotions seem closer to pity. Cooper pities himself. If there was ever a chance of being Romeo to Jolie's Juliet, he just fumbled it away thanks to the GX4000. He exits the gym to a chorus of smothered laughter and a few not-so-quiet jeers. Jolie calls, "Nice job, Cooper." That hurts even more than the rest of it because it's so obviously not true. Out in the hallway, away from prying eyes, he checks his phone to see how many hours he has left in this miserable day. But before he can see the time, the GX4000 powers off and sits idle in his palm, quiet and harmless. Chapter 4. Wrong number. The ramp is pointed more or less in the direction of the moon. The rider comes hurtling down the hill on a BMX bike, picking up speed with every yard of pavement. The only way to tell it's Jolie is that the video is posted on her Instagram account. Her face is hidden behind a helmet and a mirrored visor. By the time she hits the ramp, she's a blur. She rockets up the slope, and then she's airborne, heaving the front wheel of the bike high. Cooper is terrified for her, even though he knows she's alive because he just saw her at school today. And yet the stunt is so dangerous that it doesn't seem possible any human could have survived it. Halfway through, the bike begins to descend. It's a long way down. Even though Cooper can't see her face, Jolie's body language makes it clear that she's enjoying every millisecond, drinking it in, reveling in it. It's a perfect landing on the rear wheel, or at least it is for the first couple of heartbeats. But the bike is moving too fast and she can't control it. A wobble in the front tire and it's all over. The wipeout is as spectacular as the jump itself. And the most amazing part of all, the pure joy as she throws off her helmets and leaps to her feet, clutching out what turns out to be the broken wrist that hasn't completely healed. Cooper can't look away. She may be 80% bananas, but she's the most incredible person he's ever met. And when he scrolls down the Instagram feed, another video starts up with a stunt that's even more guaranteed to maim and kill. This time she's bundled in Gore-Tex with crampons on her feet, making her way up a frozen waterfall, wielding two ice axes. Over her shoulder, a fat sun is rising, but its orange brilliance pales to the sheer bliss on her face. She loves this as much as Cooper would hate it. It is the East, he mumbles loudly, remembering the audition, and Jolie is the sun. All at once, the GX4000 emits a sound like a truck with bad brakes and vibrates its way out of his hand, dropping to the carpeted floor. By the time Cooper stoops to pick it up, the image on the screen has dissolved into a whirlwind of particles. Not again. The phone is dark, but after a few seconds, it lights back up. The screen dancing with color, morphing in and out of elusive shapes. And then the GX4000 does something new and unexpected. It speaks. Is anyone there? Cooper freezes. What now? Is someone Skyping him? Video chatting? Nothing rang, and Cooper never answered any calls. He says the first thing that comes to mind, not realizing how stupid it sounds until the words are already out. I think you have the wrong number. Number? The voice asked. Who speaketh thus? Cooper frowns. Someone is crank calling him, probably Brock or Aiden or one of those jerks, putting on a fancy British accent and talking like Shakespeare. They're trying to make him look even stupider than he looked at the audition. I speaketh thus, Cooper growled. How did you get this number? Show thyself, stranger, that I might look upon thee. Now, listen, you. Cooper's breath catches in his throat. He watches dumbfounded as the swirling snow on the screen slowly collects in the center. A man, no, a kid. A boy not much older than Cooper. But this is no ordinary kid. He looks wrong. He wears a dingy white shirt with puffy sleeves, patches at the elbows, and held in place by a tight-fitting vest laced down to his waist. His hair is a mass of fair curls topped by a strange hat, almost like a baseball cap with no brim, only softer, velvety. Instead of pants, he wears what looks like bloomers that end mid-thigh. His legs are clad in tights. His shoes, more like slippers, made of some kind of soft leather. What are you supposed to be, Robin Hood? Cooper asked. The boy is clearly annoyed. Waste not my time with thine silly jest. I demand to know the nature of this place. Hey, back up, Cooper says. You called me, remember? You would have done the same, the boy states firmly. So long in darkness, surrounded by this featureless ether, so many unfamiliar sounds, nearby yet unseen. And then a window opened, and I behold thee, a stranger sight these eyes have never seen. I'm strange. Hath you looked in the mirror lately? I'm hanging up now. Cooper taps the phone, but the end call option doesn't appear. This isn't Skype or any app like that. Come to think of it, In order for this kid's whole body to be on screen, he has to be standing at least 10 feet away from his phone or computer or whatever he's calling on. In that case, though, wouldn't Cooper be able to see the room around him? The stranger is totally visible from the strings that tie his collarless shirt at his throat to the stripes on his pantaloons. There's nothing around him. Not a lamp, not a table, not a picture on a wall, not even a wall itself. Cooper thinks the boy's words, featureless either. This is no crank call. This kid is no dimwit like Brock, putting on his Halloween costume to pull WhatsHisFace's chain. The person on the screen seems to be telling the truth, or at least the truth as he understands it. Of all the messed up things that the GX4000 has done, this is at the top of the list. Cooper asked the million-dollar question. Who are you? Roderick Barnabas Northrop. I'm a printer's apprentice. Thou mayest call me Roddy, if it pleases thee. And thou art Cooper Vega, 7th grader. The 7th grade of what? Roddy inquires. What is thy apprenticeship? I'm not an apprentice. I'm in middle school. Roddy's brows furrow under his fringe of curls. Thy words are peculiar to my ear, as I suspect my words are to thine. Cooper sighs. Tell me about it. I have just done that, Roddy says in surprise. Thy manner of speaking is unusual. What part of England art thou from? No part of England, Cooper replies. I'm an American. Roddy's eyes open wide. The Americas. The New World. How is it that I can see thee? What is this miracle? Cooper's head has been spinning throughout this impossible encounter. He knows he has to ground himself, find some connection between this weirdness and reality. When the next question forms on his tongue, he realizes it's the one he should have asked first. Roddy, what year is it? Roddy answers immediately. Why? It is the year of our Lord, 1596, of course. No way, Cooper blurts out. It's 2018. Dost thou think me an idiot? Look, Cooper holds the phone screen up to the school calendar hanging on the wall. September 2018. Roddy reads the date in astonishment. What is this deceit? What harm have I done thee that I am now treated thus? It's the truth. You think I printed up a fake calendar on the off chance that some weirdo from 1596 might show up on my phone? I know not this phone, Roddy says. Explain thyself. It's this machine I carry around. Cooper struggles to find words that might make sense to Roddy. Everybody has phones in 2018. You talk to people on them. That's how I'm talking to you right now, and I can see you. I mean, not the real you, more like your image. Impossible, Roddy declares firmly. I have never sat for any such portrait. It's not the same. There's a camera. He cuts off the explanation. If you've never heard of a phone, you probably don't know what a camera is either. There's a knock at the door, and Miss Vega leans into the room. It's getting kind of late, Coop. Don't you think you can talk to your friend tomorrow? Cooper quickly places the GS4000 face down on his bedspread. Okay, Mom, he mumbles. Not at all sure if there will be a tomorrow with this particular friend. He isn't totally convinced it's happening now. All right, honey, sleep well. Cooper waits until her footsteps recede down the hallway before turning the phone over. Sorry, that was just my mom. He's talking to a blank screen. You can come out now, Roddy. The coast is clear. He tries again. Ah, thy coast is clearest. Nothing. He presses the home button, but the only thing to appear is an array of apps. He speaks into the voice command. Dial the most recent number. The number that appears on the screen is his mom's. Cooper hangs up, determined to reach Roddy again, but how? As far as Cooper knows, Roddy doesn't have a phone number. He doesn't even understand what a phone is. How do you dial into the past? Long distance? How about long ago? Feeling foolish, Cooper brings up the keypad and types in 1596. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Cooper knows it can't. The question is, how was it completed the first time around? He lies on his back, staring at the darkened phone. How many hours has he spent over the past few days trying to will this miserable piece of junk to shut up? To cut out the blorping, the buzzing, the chiming, the vibrating that keeps him up night after night? Well, now he has his wish. The thing is totally quiet. Somehow, though, he understands that he'll be getting even less sleep tonight, tossing and turning, wondering if he's losing his mind. Did he really have a conversation with a kid who lived hundreds of years ago? How? Buggy phones are common. They'll definitely drive you nuts. What they won't do is communicate with past centuries. Yet there's the evidence of Cooper's own eyes and ears. Roddy, the things he said and the way he said them, the accent, the words that sound like Shakespeare's plays. Even Roddy's strange clothing seems familiar, as if Cooper has seen it before. And he has, when his teacher showed everyone the school's wardrobe room on audition day. Or did I hallucinate the whole thing? That's possible too. In fact, it's probably true. The longer he lays awake, waiting for his dormant phone to burst into life, the more convinced he becomes that the entire conversation was a figment of his imagination, the result of a stressful move to a town full of jerks. Plus, he has Shakespeare on the brain, thanks to Romeo and Juliet. He changes into pajamas and climbs into bed. It's settled then. There's no Roddy Northrop. There never was. Cooper pulls the covers over his chin. That solves one problem and opens up another. The fact that I'm probably going crazy. So we will start again next week on Chapter 5, The Ghost in the Machine.